Then there's this. Dak said, quote, "I stopped honestly listening to things Jerry Jones says to the media a long time ago. It doesn't really hold weight with me." Mina, when you see that and you hear that, you think about everything going on with the Cowboys, what do you think?
I think that it is absolutely the right approach to the things that Jerry Jones says to the media. I mean, that guy talks so much, and he is so unlike any other owner in sports. And half the things he says, I don't even know if we often see him contradict those things with his actions. So for Dak, I know it sounds, I don't know, maybe a little bit flip, and obviously Jerry is the owner of the team and the GM, but frankly, I think he's well within his rights to put it that way. And that was in response, by the way, to a quote where Jerry talked about Dak and what he's shown, and honestly, I felt that it came across as a little critical, but I don't blame Dak one bit for this, and I don't think it's going to impact their negotiations or lack thereof.
Yeah, see, I would disagree with that. So I think Dak is probably one of the, if not the best, when it comes to handling press conferences that we have in the NFL. Patrick certainly is up there as well. He's essentially flawless many a times, MK. Second time this year that we've had a player, I guess, comment about some of the stuff that Jerry has said, either directly or indirectly about them. CD did the LOL on Twitter. Now Dak Prescott's going, I don't really pay attention to what he says. And part of me goes, I understand what you're saying.
That's like a no comment, though, right? He's saying he doesn't pay attention to it.
At some point, everyone says never let it get emotional. At some point, it does. Like, at some point, he's a human being. This is the second time he's kind of going through this in Dallas.
I think we are on the precipice of what could be the start of one after the other insightful comments from Dak Prescott, and here's why. He is going to be an unfettered free agent who was second in MVP voting, and the last time he bet on himself, he got hurt and still got paid. He really doesn't have to care what Jerry Jones or anyone else thinks, because he's going to be paid by fill in the blank.
But does
the
that
Raiders,
not,
the Giants. So
doesn't it become personal then? Like, doesn't it become a little bit less business and more like?
Dan, we've all been in those situations where we say things just to get through a press conference. He doesn't have to do that anymore. He's still the leader of the team. All I'm saying is he could be much more authentic, and that's what I'm saying. Like, what he just said to, like, when you really think about what he just said, I think that was a little bit more authenticity than it was more of just speaking in sound bites.
Yeah, I mean, I just went back to CD. He said LOL when Jerry kind of, he came across as dismissive talking about him in the same way that I think you could interpret his comments about Dak, which is what Dak's referring to. And then, Dan, a contract got done. These guys know that Jerry, the media figure, has pretty much nothing to do with Jerry, the GM, at least based on how these things have played out with Dallas. And that's how I read this comment. Dak saying whatever, he's saying whatever he wants to say. What happens behind closed doors has absolutely nothing to do with that.
That's fair. That's fair. I just think it's the second time, and we all knew the CD deal was going to get done. Like,
that one never felt in question at all.
Yeah, at some point it was going to get done.
Season,
this
right?
one does feel very much so in question, and we know probably the main reason why it hasn't gotten done, along with Mike McCarthy's, is because of the lack of playoff success.
Yeah. But here's one thing I would say, guys. Jerry Jones comports himself in this world as, I am a billionaire, I have leverage. This is the one time, guys,
Must be nice.
he does not have leverage, because Dak Prescott can walk out the door as an unfettered free agent.
He's going to make $60 million no matter what.
Right, and he may say, you know what, I want to go try someplace new. And that's why, to me, this dynamic is so fascinating.
All right, just a quick reminder, too, of just this week. Jerry said that, hey, Dak may have to do more with less because I haven't really surrounded him with a whole lot, kind of putting some pressure on Dak there. That was earlier. Oh, yeah. You've been off a little bit, Dan, but that happened earlier this week. And then also, Dak just saying earlier in this press conference that, if the deal doesn't get done before the season, it may show how some people feel. I think that's fascinating because that timeline feels a little bit quicker than we thought. The worst case scenario happens and both players miss time. It may not be good for San Francisco. Look at this. Both Aiyuk and Williams joined the 49ers in 2020. Aiyuk was drafted in the first round. Williams was acquired via trade with Washington. Since then, the pair have both been off the field for 303 snaps. Those plays didn't go well for the offense. You see it right there. San Fran averaged over 2 fewer yards per play. The team's QBR notably was cut in half.
Did their agents give you that?
No, but you know what's funny? We've done that twice this week on NFL Live.
And
so
it still hits.
Thank you very much. All right, Dan, what does the game plan without Brandon Aiyuk look like? And then Trent Williams as well for the Niners.
Yeah, I think San Francisco can weather some time without Brandon Aiyuk. Again, not Super Bowl contenders without him. They cannot weather a single moment without Trent Williams.
Yeah.
You know, Kyle's great ability, Kyle Shanahan, their head coach, play caller, is he always designs game plans to attack defenses. It's not necessarily like who are we or what do we have. It's how can we attack the defense. It's the short passing game. It's getting the ball to players like Christian McCaffrey in space, making sure that your quarterback doesn't have to hold it a ton, and you're making defenses run horizontally. The challenge is you got to do that without a left tackle. You got to do that without time. And that's going to be, if we fast forward this to Monday Night Football and the season opener for both teams, it's, well, how can you live in a world where you can get the ball even remotely down the field and threaten the Jets a little bit so they're not so shrunk on you without Brandon Aiyuk, and also without the ability to protect the passer? It's a very difficult situation for San Francisco right now. Trent Williams, respectfully to BA, by far more important.
1 week until the kickoff of the NFL season. Chiefs-Ravens kicks off a week from tonight. Woo, I can't wait. All right, the reigning Super Bowl champions made some changes to their wide receiver room. The Chiefs signing Marquise Brown to a one-year deal, hoping to get some big plays at wideout. He had 8 catches over 20 yards last season. They also got Xavier Worthy, who is a big deal. Drafted a speedster there. He's had a scouting combine record of 4.21 in the 40-yard dash time. And then Kadarius Toney was waived by Kansas City. Toney, of course, helped the Chiefs win Super Bowl 57 with that 65-yard punt return late in the game, but struggled last season catching just 27 passes while dropping 5. And then Juju Smith-Schuster, a familiar face, returning to the team after being in New England last season. He had over 900 receiving yards with Kansas City in 2022. A small piece of clarity today, by the way, as spokesman for the NFL, Brian McCarthy, said they did not expect to place Rashee Rice on the commissioner's exempt list before week 1 unless there was a material change in the legal case against him, which means he would be available for this game. Dan, with more playmakers for Patrick Mahomes, what can we expect this offense to look like?
Speed. You know, that was
okay?
the big issue last year. There wasn't a ton of vertical speed. Obviously, the drops and the penalties. But the addition of, like Laura talked about, Hollywood Brown and really Xavier Worthy's a big deal. So the Chiefs notoriously have liked to get into a formation when Travis Kelce lines up by himself on one side of the field. In the motion, live in the world of a Tyreek Hill, Xavier Worthy now across the field. So a couple things. Number one, when they put Kelce by himself, it's information for Patrick Mahomes. Okay, he's going to have a safety lined up over him. Patrick immediately knows man coverage. Now, again, they used to send Tyreek in motion. Now it's Xavier Worthy. The defender runs with them. Again, another indicator that they're in man coverage. And very simply put, what they do is they tell Patrick this. Hey, Patrick, with Kelce down here, if there's going to be 2 defenders that really shade that side, well, back in the day, it would be Tyreek Hill. I want you to go deep in some capacity. And since they're double teaming Kelce, you get one-on-one, use your speed. This time, it's Xavier Worthy. They're going to double team Kelce essentially. This safety's going to lean a little bit. And all of a sudden, Xavier Worthy has speed down the field as both of these defenders are really attached to Travis Kelce. Big play down the field. That's what they were lacking last year. Then they would use Tyreek to gather or bring eyes to him. Again, Xavier Worthy at the bottom of the screen right here. They're going to go play action. This is going to be Justin Watson sitting. I want everyone to watch how many people in sets of eyes are paying attention to Xavier Worthy on the play action pass. He's going to push vertical downfield. When you look at this defense right now, I see 1, 2, 3 people for really one Xavier Worthy. So now all that's left for Detroit is 1, 2 in the middle of the field defending 1, 2, 3, 4 pass catching options, all because Xavier Worthy has brought all those people down the field, gaping holes in the middle of the field. He could have thrown it to 2 people, and there's those big gashes in their pass game. That used to be Tyreek Hill. They didn't have that last year, and so I think we'll see what happens with Hollywood his health, but Xavier Worthy and just the ability to vertically push down the field gives them the opportunity to get into that Kelce formation again and create matchups and just take shots down the field, or make sure that everyone feels his speed, pays attention to him, and then they're going to have so many numbers advantages in zone coverage.
Just as a football nerd, I'm excited to see what this
No
offense
doubt.
actually looks like. Mina, let's look specifically at next week's matchup because, you know, we can. It's a week away now. How do you think the new look offense finds success against the Ravens defense?
Yeah, it's funny because everything Dan said is so important, and the way that speed is going to open up the underneath passing game is really significant, I think, for the Kansas City Chiefs. But when we're talking about the Baltimore Ravens in particular, I actually think they're going to come out and play a lot of 12 and 13 personnel with multiple tight ends. Now, Worthy would be on the field with Rice probably in that scenario, in part because the Ravens defense, as good as they were last year, and they were arguably the best defense in the NFL, they weren't always great at stopping the run, especially when teams put multiple tight ends on the field. Actually, against 12 personnel, which the Chiefs use a great deal, they had the 5th worst success rate in football against the run. And I think if the Chiefs come out in 12, 13 personnel, if the Ravens counter that with nickel or dime, they will happily run the ball. If they play base, meaning having multiple linebackers on the field, they'll be happy to hunt mismatches. Yeah. And then, of course, the presence of Worthy stretches them vertically in a way that compromises them. It just introduces new spatial issues for a defense that was very good at solving them last year, but a little bit soft against the run.
Yeah, going to be different, too, without Mike McDonald, who, of course, now is the coach of the Seahawks. Go ahead.
Yeah, and MK, like that second clip that I just showed, that Justin Watson almost like deep hook, that was actually out of 12 personnel. So they can get into those multiple tight end personnel packages and still, just because of Xavier or Hollywood, still threaten you vertically. And that's really when they were at their very best with Tyreek. Yeah, that's really where Andy Reid wants to live.